Good evening, everybody. I'm calling to order the North Ridgeville City Council meeting. Today is Monday, October 2nd, 2023. Please rise for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Father, we thank you for the wonderful community in which we live and for the opportunity to represent it as our city council. We ask you to give us and all local, state, national, and world leaders wisdom to make good decisions and to govern with integrity and justice. We pray these things in your name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk, please call the roll.
Swink.
Here.
Abens.
Here.
Winkle.
Here.
Awig.
Here.
DeVries.
Here.
Jacobs.
Here.
Mayor. Here. Law Director.
Here.
Engineer. Here. Finance Director. Clerk of Council. Here.
Tonight, under the approval of minutes, we have the City Council meeting minutes dated September 18th, 2023. Are there any changes or corrections to those minutes? Hearing none, the minutes stand approved. Please note that Council has also received the Parks and Recreation Commission meeting minutes dated August 23rd, 2023, the Planning Commission meeting minutes dated September 12th, 2023, the Civil Service Commission meeting minutes dated September 25th, 2023, as well as the Planning Commission meeting minutes dated September 28th, 2023. That brings us to our lobby session. In a moment, I will open the lobby. As a reminder to those who are with us this evening, anybody who wishes to speak, we do ask that you please speak from the podium. As a reminder, in the interest of time, this is not a question and answer period, but is an opportunity for the public to address council as well as administration regarding any concerns related to the business of City Council or the general affairs of the City of North Ridgeville. So at this time, the lobby session is now open. I have received one written submission, which I will take first. That is Mrs. Kersey. If you could please begin by stating your name and address for the record, and then your 3 minutes will begin.
Okay, my name is Shelley Kersey. I live at 37886 Stony Lake Drive in North Ridgeville, Ohio. I read with great sadness the independent report issued by the law firm hired by the mayor to investigate the actions of Freeman and how they have affected the North Ridgeville Police Department. To quote directly from that report, it states on page 2, the differences in opinion which have and continue to create varying degrees of tension and conflict relate to how the city reaches its goals, how the city measures productivity, and how the chief leads the department. From our perspective, these differences in opinion are causing the chief and his administration to clash with the majority of officers and dispatchers. In addition to these differences of opinion, it is abundantly clear from our interviews and feedback that the chief has a management communication style that is often perceived as micromanaging, abrasive, and at times hostile. As defined by the Society for Human Resource Management, a hostile work environment is created when harassing or discriminatory conduct is so severe and pervasive, it interferes with an individual's ability to perform their job, creates an intimidating, offensive, threatening, or humiliating work environment, or causes a situation where a person's psychological well-being is adversely affected. I believe most of our police officers would agree that they are indeed victims of a hostile work environment, as noted in the report. Bearing this in mind, I would like to know when the mandatory leadership training is to begin and who will be doing that leadership training. Who is going to be making the hiring decisions since we do not have a human resource department? What kind of training will this person have undergone to be able to make unbiased reports or leadership styles? Will this person be a behavioral therapist? I would suggest a behavioral therapist who is licensed in clinical therapy that will utilize a variety of methods to help clients address behaviors that can be unproductive or harmful. There are many peer-reviewed studies that support the efficacy and effectiveness of behavioral therapy for psychiatric disorders, physical conditions, and behavioral problems. In the meantime, we have people on the department now ready to leave. They have done so to protect their own mental health because the city certainly has not cared about them at all. I will just leave you with something to think about. People don't leave good jobs. They leave bad leaders. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mrs. Kersey, for being here. I do not have any additional written submissions. Is there anybody else in attendance this evening who would like to address council or the administration? Okay, seeing none, the lobby session is now closed. We will move on to administrative reports. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. President. There's a few new first readings, and one of them is the waste management plan for Lorraine County. There is a deadline of October 29th, so at the next meeting, we'll ask to pass this with the emergency. There is also the right-of-way acquisition, which is T100 for the roundabout at Avon Belden Road and Chestnut Ridge Road. We would like to purchase that acquisition, or actually ODOT would like us to move forward with that property acquisition. So we'll be asking for the emergency tonight. And also under first readings is T104, and we'll be discussing that in executive session, and we'll ask to move that along as well. Candidates Night. The Chamber of Commerce is sponsoring a Meet the Candidates Night this Wednesday, October 4th at 6 p.m. at the North Ridgeville Academic Center. You'll have the opportunity to hear from the candidates running for City Council and the school board. And if you missed the mayoral forum held last week, it was videotaped and can be viewed on the city's website at nridgeville.org, also on the city's Facebook page, and I believe on the Chamber's Facebook page as well. There is a safety fair happening on October 7th. The North Ridgeville Fire and Police Departments will be hosting the annual safety fair on Saturday, October 7th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Fire Station 1 on Ranger Way. There'll be fire station tours, food, entertainment, touch a truck, kids firefighter combat challenge, which I'm told is still safe. KC Fire and Life Safety Dog, inflatables and bounce houses, and emergency helicopter landing, but the weather's not looking so good for that. This is a free event, and I hope to see you there. There is another edition of Coffee and Conversation on October 13th, which is on a Friday, 8:30 a.m. in council chambers. Here for that, always good time. And then there is a Fall Fest on October 14th. Parks and Rec will be hosting the annual Fall Fest at South Central Park from 4 to 6 p.m. There'll be fun games, food vendors, face painting and pumpkin painting, balloon animals, pumpkin bowling, photo booth, and some hay rides, which is also weather permitting. And it's a free event, so come on out and enjoy that as well. And at this time, I'll make the motion to go into executive session to discuss property acquisition. And I believe there was something else that you wanted to add.
Yeah, and I'd like to add
that
to the
as well.
motion that we will also be discussing the appointment of a public official.
Second.
It was moved by the mayor and seconded by Swank to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing the purchase of public lands and the appointment of a public official. Clerk, please call the roll.
Swank,
Yes.
Avens,
Yes.
Winkle,
Yes.
Awig,
Yes.
DeVries,
Yes.
Jacobs.
Yes.
Motion to go into executive session is passed.
Thank you, folks. We will adjourn into executive session. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. Is everybody here? Okay, now back in session. Mr. Mayor, please continue with your report.
Mr. President, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Engineer?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a few items. The Race Road Turnpike Bridge was opened last Friday, so truck traffic shall resume their designated truck routes. The full-depth concrete repairs and the catch basin rehabilitation projects are nearly complete. Any outstanding lawn restoration that needs addressed, will be accomplished after the pavement is complete. We are still waiting to hear back from Norfolk Southern on when they will need to close Maddock Road to work on their railroad bridge over Ridgeway Ditch. It was originally scheduled for some time in October, but I'm still waiting to get confirmation on them. Lastly, any commercial users that have not submitted their cross-connection control survey as it relates to their water use practices should do so as soon as possible. If engineering does not have a survey on file, they may be subject to a water audit and possibly a disruption to water service. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Engineer. Ms. Finance Director?
Thank you, Council President. Before Council tonight is T-102, a resolution authorizing the execution of then and now certificates by the fiscal officer. The expenses outlined in Exhibit A were budgeted and approved by Council prior to the ordering of the materials and services. Both invoices are due now. In an effort to ensure the vendor receives payment promptly, I'd like to ask Council to consider adopting this legislation this evening with the emergency clause. Also before Council tonight is T-103, an ordinance amending 2023 appropriations. In advance of this meeting, I sent Council a memorandum explaining the necessity of each item included in this amendment. I would like to ask Council to consider adopting this legislation tonight with the emergency clause to provide our departments the financial resources necessary to meet the city's obligations. Thank you, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Finance Director. Please note that the Finance Director has provided Council with the August 2023 financial report, and we are also in receipt of the August 2023 Parks and Recreation Division report. There are no Council Committee reports or correspondence on tonight's agenda, which will bring us to old business. At our last meeting, one of the actions taken at the Planning Commission meeting of September 12th, 2023 was tabled until tonight's meeting. Clerk, if you could please read that item, Ridgeville Farms Housing.
Ridgeville Farm Senior Housing, PPN 07-00-022-101-013-15, and 86. Proposal consists of final development plan approval and lot consolidation for a proposed senior center planned residential development. Property zoned R1 Residence District. BZBA approved the variance request and conditional use restricted to 55 and older and no more than 58 total units on August 26, 2021. Planning Commission approved with condition of constructing a sound barrier. Planning Commission action approved by a vote of 4-0.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Abens.
first of all, this particular project, they are meeting all zoning and building codes. In addition, it is affordable housing for seniors, which I've heard from the Master Plan Committee. They're looking for more affordable housing for this community. This seems to fit the plan very well. So I move to approve.
Second.
The motion was made by Abens and seconded by Awig to approve the Planning Commission's approval of Ridgeville Farms Senior Housing. Is there any discussion?
Mr. President,
Yes, Mrs. Swain.
I feel like this development's going to add to the amount of EMS calls for already overburdened fire and paramedics. I pulled up a recent traffic study at the corner of 83 and Bainbridge, and in an 11-hour period on August 24th, there were 15,336 vehicles at or near that intersection. And I feel that this is going to cause traffic nightmares pulling out of the development, so I'm going to be voting no.
Thank you, Mrs. Swain. Are there any additional comments, questions? Hearing none, it was moved by Abens and seconded by Awig to approve the Planning Commission's approval of Ridgeville Farms Senior Housing. Clerk, please call the roll.
Swank,
No.
Abens,
Yes.
Winkle,
Yes.
Awig,
Yes.
DeVries,
Yes.
Jacobs.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-1.
Up next is our new business. First item under new business, the North Ridgeville Planning Commission took action on an item at their special meeting of September 28th, 2023. Clerk, if you could please read that item.
T 97-2023, an ordinance vacating Elm Street, an unused, undeveloped street between Wallace Boulevard and Cornell Avenue, and abutting 4 properties, one which encroaches into Elm Street upon action initiated by City Council. Planning Commission action approved by a vote of 3-0.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Abens.
I move to approve.
Second.
It was moved by Abens and seconded by Awig to approve the Planning Commission's approval of the vacation of Elm Street. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Swink,
Yes.
Abens,
Yes.
Winkle,
Yes.
Awig,
Yes.
DeVries,
Yes.
Jacobs.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously, 6-0.
Also under new business this evening, there were a couple of liquor permit requests that were received. Clerk, if you could please read the first permit request.
A request from the Ohio Division of Liquor Control for a new permit request from 34167 PMA LLC DBA Nikos Euros to Go at 34167 Center Ridge Road. Council action required. Move to not request a hearing so this permit can be sent to the state for final disposition by October 16th, 2023.
Mr. President, I do move to not request a hearing, so this permit can be sent to the state for its final hearing and disposition by October 16th.
Second.
The motion was made by Winkle and seconded by Swank to not request a hearing, so this permit can be sent to the state for final disposition by October 16th. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. Motion carries. Clerk, if you could please read the second liquor permit request.
A request from the Ohio Division of Liquor Control for a transfer permit request from iMart Stores LLC DBA iMart Stores at 32393 Lorraine Road to Lean Ann Investment LLC DBA iMart Stores at 32393 Lorraine Road.
Mr. President, I move not to request a hearing, so this can be sent to the state for their final hearing and disposition by October 16th.
Second.
Again, the motion was made by Winkle and seconded by Swink to not request a hearing, so the permit can be sent to the state for final disposition by October 16th. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. Motion carries. This time I will make a motion to suspend the bylaws in order to hold nominations for the open Ward 2 council seat.
Second.
The motion was made by Jacobs and seconded by Abens, I think I heard first, to suspend the bylaws in order to hold nominations for the Ward 2 seat. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. As was announced a couple of meetings ago, as a result of the death of Ward 2 Councilman Dennis Boos, the remaining members of council were required to appoint somebody to fill that role for the remainder of the term, which ends December 31st, 2023. We did ask for interested parties to submit resumes and cover letters. I'm happy to say that we did receive 10 applicants. Each current council member received the resumes and the cover letters as well. And I'd like to thank each one of them for applying for the position and for your willingness to serve the city. Obviously, we can only choose one. I can say that it was a difficult choice. There were many qualified candidates. And so at this time, I will open the floor for nominations for the vacant Ward 2 seat.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mrs. Swink.
I would like to nominate and appoint Mr. Frank Toth to the open Ward 2 council position.
Second.
It was moved by Swank and seconded by Awig to appoint Frank Toth as the Ward 2 councilperson for the remainder of the current term ending December 31st, 2023. Is there any discussion? I can say that Mr. Toth has been a resident of the city for 55 years. He has attended and graduated from the North Ridgeville City Schools and Lorain County Community College. He has several years of business experiences, sales experience as well. He has served the city on the city's Charter Review Committee last year, and he frequently attends council meetings, committee meetings, and other city meetings as well. He hopes to continue to positively benefit the community. And I think Mr. Toth would be an excellent choice. So again, at this time, the motion was made by Swank and seconded by Awig to appoint Frank Toth. Clerk, please call the roll.
Swink,
Yes.
Abens,
Yes.
Winkle,
Yes.
Awig,
Yes.
DeVries,
Yes.
Jacobs.
Yes.
The motion to nominate Frank Toth for the second ward council seat has been approved.
Congratulations, Mr. Toth. That brings us to recess.
Mr. President, I move to dispense with recess.
Second.
It was moved by Winkle and seconded by Awig to dispense with with recess this evening. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say yes.
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 All opposed say no. Recess has been dispensed. We will move on to first readings. Up first this evening is T97.
T97-2023, an ordinance vacating Elm Street, an unused, undeveloped street between Wallace Boulevard and Cornell Avenue, and abutting 4 properties, one which encroaches into Elm Street upon action initiated by City Council.
T97 will be referred to the Building and Lands Committee for further discussion. T98.
T98-2023, a resolution declaring it necessary to levy a renewal tax in excess of the 10 mil limitation for current expenses of the Lorraine Public Library System, including the operation of a branch library located in the city of North Ridgeville.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
We have several members of the library system and friends of the library here. Just wanted to point out that this process is accelerated due to the election that'll happen in March of next year because of the presidential race. So while we won't ask for this to be passed with the emergency tonight, according to the timeline, we will have to ask for that at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And it's also, just for the public's knowledge as well, because the library is not a taxing authority, that is the reason why they come through council in order to put a levy on the ballot. Is there any other discussion at this time? T99?
T99-2023, a resolution adopting the solid waste management plan for the Lorraine County Solid Waste Management District.
T100?
T100-2023, an ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of North Ridgeville to enter into contracts with 6 individual property owners whose properties surround the intersection of Avon Belden Road and Chestnut Ridge Road for the purpose of permanent and/or temporary right-of-way for the roundabout improvement, plus any additional costs associated with the execution of these contracts.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
move to dispense with the second and third readings.
Second.
It was moved by the mayor and seconded by Awig to dispense with the second and third readings for T100. Are there any comments or questions?
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Mayor?
ODOT has asked for us to move forward with this project and meet their deadlines, which includes property acquisition. They would like to see those checks go out next week, and there have been negotiations ongoing with all the different property owners. The engineer and I just went to speak to one of them. What day was that? Thursday, Friday? Friday, to wrap up that conversation. So I believe everybody is now clear on the price that has been offered. We're just looking to move this project forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Are there any additional comments or questions?
Mr. President,
Yes, Mrs. Swing.
I'd also like to add that the public doesn't see that ODOT recently awarded us additional safety funds totaling $122,008 to be used for the right-of-way costs.
Thank you, Mrs. Swing. Any additional comments? So again, the motion was made by the mayor and seconded by Awig to dispense with the second and third readings for T100. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. I will make a motion to adopt the legislation.
Second.
Mr. President,
Yes,
move to
Mr.
add the emergency clause
Second.
so we can meet the ODOT deadlines.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It was moved by the mayor and seconded by Awig to add the emergency clause to T100 in order to meet the ODOT deadline for the project. On the emergency clause alone, all in favor say yes.
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 All opposed say no. It was then moved by the mayor and seconded by, it it was moved by Jacobs and seconded by Awig to adopt T100 with the emergency clause in place. At this time, are there any comments or questions? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Swank,
Yes.
Abens,
Yes.
Winkle,
Yes.
Awig,
Yes.
DeVries,
yes,
Jacobs.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously and becomes ordinance number 6104-2023.
T101.
T101-2023, an ordinance amending NRCO Chapter 264 Civil Service Commission.
T102.
T102-2023, a resolution authorizing the execution of then and now certificates by the city fiscal officer and the payment of amounts due for various purchase orders.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. DeVries.
motion to dispense with the second and third reading?
Second.
It was moved by DeVries and seconded by Abens to dispense with the second and third readings for T102. Are there any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. DeVries.
motion to adopt?
Second.
Mr. President, motion to add the emergency clause for the reasons stated by the Director of Finance to make sure that we pay our bills in a timely manner?
Second.
It was moved by DeVries and seconded by Abens to add the emergency clause to T102 for the reasons stated earlier by the Finance Director. On the emergency clause alone, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. It was then moved by DeVries and seconded by Abens to adopt T102 with the emergency clause in place. At this time, are there any comments or questions? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Swank,
Yes.
Abens,
Yes.
Winkle,
Yes.
Awig,
Yes.
DeVries,
Yes.
Jacobs.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously and becomes resolution number 1607-2023.
T103.
T103-2023, an ordinance amending ordinance number 6031-2022 of the City of North Ridgeville, Ohio, providing appropriations for the period commencing January 1st, 2023, and ending December 31st, 2023.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. DeVries.
motion to dispense with the second and third reading?
Second.
Motion was made by DeVries and seconded by Abens to dispense with the second and third readings for T103. Are there any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. DeVries.
motion to adopt?
Second.
Mr. President, motion to add the emergency clause to pay our bills in a timely manner as we have appropriated for in our budget process?
Second.
The motion was made by DeVries and seconded by Abens to add the emergency clause to T103 in order to pay the bills in a timely manner. On the emergency clause alone, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. It was then moved by DeVries and seconded by Abens to adopt T103 with the emergency clause in place. Are there any comments or questions? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Swank,
Yes.
Abens,
Yes.
Winkle,
Yes.
Awig,
Yes.
DeVries,
Yes.
Jacobs.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously and becomes ordinance number 6105-2023.
T104.
T104-2023, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with Harold J. Bogner Living Trust, Harold J. Bogner, and Kathleen M. Bogner trustees for the purchase of real property in the amount of $300,000 plus closing costs.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
move to dispense with the second and third readings.
Second.
It was moved by the mayor and seconded by Swank to dispense with the second and third readings for T104. Are there any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no.
Mr. President, move to adopt.
Second.
Mr. President, move to add the emergency clause so we can secure this property in a timely manner.
Second.
It was moved by the mayor and seconded by Swank to add the emergency clause to T104 in order to secure the property in a timely manner. On the emergency clause alone, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. It was then moved by the mayor and seconded by Swank to adopt T104 with the emergency clause in place. Are there any comments or questions? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Swank,
Yes.
Abens,
Yes.
Winkle,
Yes.
Awig,
Yes.
DeVries,
Yes.
Jacobs.
Yes.
The motion carries 6-0 and becomes ordinance number 6106-2023.
We do not have any second or third readings
Mr.
on
President,
tonight's agenda. Yes,
I do
Mr. Mayor?
have an adjustment for us to make. So it turns out that the date that I was provided with earlier on the solid waste management plan is not correct. The deadline to approve that plan is actually October 9th. And I was told October 29th. So, but anyway, at this point, I'd like to go back to that ordinance, which is T99, and move to dispense with the second and third readings.
I'll second it.
The motion was made by the mayor and seconded by Awig to dispense with the second and third readings for T99. Are there any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say yes.
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 All opposed say no.
Mr. President, move to adopt.
Second.
Mr. President, move to add the emergency clause. This plan was put together and has a 90-day period in which to approve that plan, and they're looking for 60% of the communities that make up the district to approve it, and they are looking for that approval by October 9th.
I'll second it.
It was moved by the mayor and seconded by Awig to add the emergency clause to T99 in order to meet the county's deadline. On the emergency clause alone, all in favor say yes.
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 All opposed say no. It was then moved by the mayor and seconded by Awig to adopt T99 with the emergency clause in place. Are there any comments or questions?
Mr. President, I have a question.
Yes, Mrs. Swink?
To the administration, it said the city of North Ridgeville must decide whether it approves of said solid waste management plan within 90 days of receipt of the final draft plan. Do we have that final draft plan?
Yes, it was attached to the email that I sent out.
I did not get an email from you.
Are there any additional comments or questions? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Swink,
Yes.
Abens,
Yes.
Winkle,
Yes.
Awig,
Yes.
DeVries,
Yes.
Jacobs.
Yes.
Motion carries and becomes resolution number 1608-2023.
The next regular city council meeting will be held on Monday, October 16th, 2023, here in city council chambers, and the time for that meeting will be 7 p.m. A public hearing will be held on Monday, November 6th, 2023, regarding T97, and that meeting will be held at 6:30 p.m. here in council chambers. Do any of the council members or administration have any final comments this evening?